Welcome, people, to the VGP. This is the Vulcan Gladius podcast, hosted by me, Vulcan, the Alicorn OC that everyone loves to hate for my stupid opinion, and my friend Gladius here, the Gator who I would not live without. Trust me, I've tried. It was very boring.
Yeah. Let's explain away the reason why there hasn't been a podcast for basically 2 weeks now. Unfortunately, our volcanic overlord Vulcan was a bit indisposed of due to technical difficulties on the extreme side.
Oh, my computer died. It was horrible. And I went through withdrawal symptoms. That was not fun. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What are we here to talk about today, my friend?
We are here to talk about the community fandom topic that is Alicorns!
I suddenly feel very uncomfortable.
Well,
Okay. Right. The Alicorn OC, I've said this to people before. The Alicorn OC is like, it's the black sheep of this fandom. Like, one of the many black sheeps, but it was the original. It's like, if you had a pony that had a horn and wings, you were vindicated by pretty much everybody. Why? Because you're apparently OP as shit.
Yeah.
Even though I think that's absolutely bullshit.
And let's see where you go with this train of thought, Vulcan.
I mean, Alicorns are... Okay, so if we break this down from a show POV, if we break this down from a show perspective, what makes an Alicorn apparently really powerful? The first thing you go to, well, Celestia and Luna raised the sun and the moon, so that technically means anyone who's an Alicorn must have the same level of power. And then you got to break that. You need to break that down. Is raising the sun and the moon really a feat of power? To us, it is, because the sun's a giant ball of... is literally a giant explosion.
Vulcan?
Yeah?
There's been sub-canon stuff that's been facilitated about the actual unicorns being able to perform this feat if a couple of them work together to raise or lower the sun. From from a certain book written by Amy Keating Rogers around the time of season 4's airing, the Journal of the Two Pony Sisters, and it kind of mentions
which may not be canon anymore, but we don't know.
Yeah, which is a sad thing about that, because that was a really good book and it had certain things, but with season 7 and the actual appearance of Star Swirl, yeah, that's kind of out of the books. Like, season 7 kind of killed it for good.
I mean, honestly, I'm going to say this right now. I'm not going to take any side books as canon.
All right.
Because, honestly, the fact you have to read an outside material to get a full story is really stupid. And also, it doesn't... They're subjective to the continuity of the person who's in charge of writing the show. If it's whoever... I can't remember her name. If it's whoever wrote it at the time...
Amy Keating Rogers, who was a writer at that time.
It's Amy Keating Rogers. If she's heading the show, I will consider it as canon because she writes both. But since she isn't, I'm not going to consider that as canon. But also, that brings up a good point, because if the writers of the show suspect that this feat of lifting the sun can be done by multiple unicorns, then that technically isn't a serious power feat. That only means that Celestia can easily do something that other unicorns can't do, which you could easily translate to Twilight being able to teleport all over the place, and we haven't seen many unicorns be able to do that. Granted, you could say that, but that falls under more of mastery of a talent rather than power feat. So if we translate it again, what are the power feats of Celestia and Luna shown in the show? Celestia lost to Chrysalis, and they fought back a giant cloud.
And people applaud that certain two-parter because they're actually doing something. And I'm like, I am not going to go degrade myself to that level of like just supporting the show just for something minor as that. And I'm not even going to be like hyperbolic about it because that's not anything. That might just be because of like laser beams that Alicorn seem to have plenty of, but that's only it. Laser beams.
Well, even the laser beams can be used by unicorns.
Oh yeah,
That's only the unicorn trait. And ultimately, what makes me laugh a lot about this is the fact that, like, if you have an Alicorn OC, you're already going in. Now, this is coming off a guy who made an Alicorn OC for people not to like him, but the fact that you make one will always put you at sort of as far as what I've seen, because I've been through 2 Alicorn OCs. Vulcan is my second. You always put people on a degree of, oh, okay, this person's an Alicorn. And that's really annoying, because if someone can make if Ty and Darga can make a Deer OC and before anyone says, but Ty and Darga doesn't have any powerful feats, how do you know? You don't have Ty and Darga's complete character's canonical story
or
list out in front of you.
Or even
exactly.
Because, like, you can't say what another person thinks. Like, you thinking, like, oh, they're just a simple deer. Or what if Ty and Darga just goes and reveals, like, something, like, in one of his videos, like, oh, my deer basically has the powers of nature, able to control it upon his whim. And maybe he might even take a page from the comics in that matter. Who knows?
I mean, I can see, like, the entirety of the Alicorn OP nature was really dissolved at the start of season 2 with the end of season 2 with the Canterlot Wedding, when Celestia was beaten down by Chrysalis. Now, granted, you could say that Chrysalis was ubercharged on love, but she was still smacked down by Chrysalis, who then was bitch slapped away by a shield, and then was outsmarted by Starlight.
Okay. And for that, it's like, here's the other thing. People might think, like, oh, that was just like maybe that was like a happenstance. But then again, it's like Chrysalis with the love of one unicorn towards an Alicorn. And it's like, the Alicorn's not really a part of the equation when it comes to this love. It's just the unicorn's love for said Alicorn that she's disguised as, and that had enough power to defeat Celestia. That kind of puts into perspective. It's like, that means Shining Armor's love is strong enough with a changeling's abilities to beat an Alicorn, who people thought were gods.
But Gladius, love is a power that conquers everything, even a sun god.
Love conquers all for naught.
Okay, like, honestly, this is the other thing I need to talk about. The reason people think Alicorns are overpowered is because of the fandom's reception of them. And I can now, don't get me wrong, I can understand how the fandom would receive them that way. Celestia and Luna, they raised the sun and the moon, and they had a massive battle where Celestia had to banish Luna to the moon. But then when you take a step back and realize, okay, Celestia can raise the sun, but that's her special talent. Luna can raise the moon, but that's her special talent. That's what her cutie mark lets her do. And then you realize that Celestia had to use all of the elements of harmony to seal Nightmare Moon away. It kind of makes you reconsider how powerful they are. But because obviously the fandom didn't completely look at this, they were like, they're OP! Oh, praise the sun, Solar Republic, Lunar Empire, that kind of garbage.
Wait, why did you say Starlight Republic? That doesn't exist.
I said Solar Republic. It was meant to be a joke on the Lunar Republic and the Solar Empire thing the fandom had for ages.
Yeah.
I'm personally a Unity Squad member. I don't give a shit who Best Princess is, even though it's me. But the kind of, I'm going to be honest, I don't like Cadence. I'm going to be honest.
Okay, I also agree with that. And it's like, seriously, it took 7 seasons just for one actual thing she actually did in the entire show that didn't involve with like her introduction in season 2. And that was in Once Upon a Zeppelin. That was the moment in which, like, yeah, that was a good thing, Cadence. I actually like that action you did. That was it.
But I mean, Cadence didn't help things in terms of the argument either, because she could just point her horn at people and make them love each other. So that kind of threw a wrench into how strong are Alicorns. But then again, she got bitch smacked down by Chrysalis, which probably just makes Chrysalis the Eisen of the fucking show. But
oh my god!
Well, she is. She like takes down 2 princesses.
Oh no,
She completely kidnaps all the princesses again with, according to the show, barely any actual... She didn't do it herself. No, her subjects did it. And then she was like, nah, I'm not going to forgive you. And then she disappears and then's going to come back. Spoilers, by the way. And is like going to do some weird shit to the main six again. She's like the Eisen of this show, man.
I mean, that's not a really bad thing to say. She's a simplified version of Eisen, not with like the complex anime writing.
She's the Hasbro Eisen.
She's a Hasbro Eisen, and I think we should respect her for that, because everyone who decried her, guess who decided to be happy as soon as she wasn't redeemed? That's right, everyone in the flipping fandom.
Because this fandom has a thing. This show has a thing for like, you're a villain, but you was just misunderstood. Unless you're Sombra, or Tirak, or Chrysalis. And either you die, get sent to hell, or just shunned by community because you didn't accept reformation. I swear, though, Chrysalis is probably going to get reformed by the end of the series.
I mean,
they're bringing her back.
It better be with like good writing, or else it's just going to be like, that is
like she was sitting there for about a whole minute in the episode just considering accepting it. So there's obviously a fragment of something there. I mean, honestly, I wish the Pony of Shadows was a villain. I wish he was still a thing and not banished forever.
I know. I love Pony of Shadows so bad. It's like Venom, but also it's like an actual shadow. It's like, it works in the context of Persona. It's like, oh, look, this big giant thing. All of this comes from one lonely unicorn who basically wanted to get the pride and ego of his compatriots who are hailed as heroes, essentially. And even though I might disagree with like other people's interpretation, it's like, oh, Stygian isn't to blame. It's like Stygian stole the artifacts, right behind their backs. He has a bit of sin in him. Don't just call him an innocent cinnamon roll.
Okay, Matt 2, I want to take that comment and I want to turn it on its head. Okay, Matt 2 has said, compared to the other races, they're all still far more powerful, except when compared to unicorns, whose talent is magic anyway. That is bullshit. I'm sorry, I'm not saying your opinion on it is bullshit. I'm saying that fact is bullshit when you look at the show. Because I don't even want to count how many races we've got in the show, but I'm going to run over some of the strongest ones. Let's talk about the three main races: Earth ponies, Pegasi, unicorns. The unicorns are self-explanatory. They've got massive amounts of magical spells. Like they can vary from strength from person to person. But let's talk about Pegasi. They have the power to control the weather.
Mm-hmm.
They have a moving city in the sky that no one that isn't a unicorn can stand on.
Yeah.
And that city is made of clouds, which are the source of their magical ability to control the weather. They could have a gigantic fucking lightning cloud made out of that and just rain down fury upon the ground. Pegasi' ability to control and synthesize weather is such a scientific thing in the show, because ultimately you could have a Pegasi that has like a rainbow charged lightning bolt that could just destroy an entire city. It can happen because lightning is devastating.
And it's like,
they can create tornadoes, they can create twisters, they could create a circumstance that could lead to an earthquake or a tsunami if they are correctly intelligent enough.
Oh, and they can also do nonsensical weather things that have been saying, like raining cats and dogs. They could simply carry a litter of kittens or puppies and just hurl them off in a cloud, and then watch them disperse. It's just be like, look at us.
I don't want to bring this episode up, but it's a fair point. Rarity got Rainbow Dash's cutie mark, and this is the only reason I think this happened. Because if they did, then unicorns are just really OP. And way more OP than Alicorns, if you think about it, if they can do this. She grabbed the clouds in the sky and just mismatched them into checkered patterns. And it was like really scorching hot in Ponyville, and it was raining down all the time, and there was lightning bolts everywhere, frying people. Like, she just did that with the cutie mark of a Pegasi, meaning that a Pegasi could actually do this shit.
It's like...
It is nuts when you think about how strong each individual pony race is. And Earth ponies, I do not want to get punched by an Earth pony, because Applejack's feats alone, Applejack's feats are fucking alone with her strength are fucking nuts. Her strength obviously varies depending on the rider, but dude,
Yeah,
boulders from Indiana Jones on steroids with just her back legs. And she was barely, from the looks of her face, she was barely even trying. I don't want to see her going all out, beating the shit out of something. Because that would be nuts. Jesus Christ. The thing that people like to compare with Alicorns is because Alicorns apparently have the traits of all three races, they're really overpowered. We don't know if that's the case. All we know is that Alicorns have wings and a horn, and they have their own unique magic. We don't know if they have Earth Pony abilities, because that's never been said. We don't know if they have the Pegasi ability to change the weather. We assume they do, because they have wings, and because they've got unicorn horns. But we don't know the full extent of what an Alicorn can actually do. We've never been shown that. We've just been insinuated.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Alicorns are taller, but... Dude, have you seen Troubleshoes?
Yes.
Troubleshoes debunks that argument. I'm sorry, Matt, too. I am sorry. You're still my friend. But holy shit. And also, if we go into a different race, we've got the Hippogriffs.
Mm-hmm.
Who have an orb. This just blew... Like, when you think about this in the context of the show itself, if the movie is canon, they have an orb that can change the physical structure to whoever's holding it,
Mm-hmm.
whatever their imagination, they can change the physical structure of a pony, like, to whatever they want. They can manipulate the biological structure of a pony of any race that they want. And that was the crux of Twilight's argument. She was like, we could just take this and turn the Storm King into a mouse. I'm sorry, but if an Alicorn went against that orb, they'd be fucked.
Or even turn every one of our compatriots into mother-flipping dragons.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon. Oh, but wait. Oh, are we also going to be talking about a certain bug species that we just only talk about their queen? Because seriously, I really want to talk.
Changelings are OP. We don't even know the full power of Chrysalis. We don't know Chrysalis's full strength because all she did, like, her strongest feat was taking down Celestia. Again, we don't even know how strong. Like, it's so awkward to power scale races in MLP because the show's inconsistent as fuck. But it's also awkward because due to the fact that one race doesn't have a set super OP feat, we can't compare that to other things. But that's the one thing that's my biggest argument, because we don't know how strong each race is. We don't know how strong Alicorns are. But changelings, they can be power scaled pretty good. Because if Crystal has got enough love to take down an Alicorn who lived for thousands of years, probably had ages of battle experience, if we're talking about in terms of real life implied upon the show, if she took her down with thousands of years of experience from just love alone, how strong could a base changeling get? Like, how strong could, and I'm talking about original black changelings, not the neon ones, because I think the neon ones are weaker, but
or stronger.
Oh. I don't think they're stronger because they physically changed and they're pretty much just, seem to have the same physical feats as just average ponies. Whereas with Chrysalis being a love-feasting changeling,
like void of like,
you could tell from how they drew her in the show that she was visibly like, how the fuck am I this strong from this one guy's love? Like, alone. Like, that shows that they can just, like, ubercharge themselves on low.
Ubercharge. It's just...
It is nuts. They're nuts. Like, honestly, changelings are probably the most OP race because they have magic. They can fly. They're essentially mini alicorns. And they can shapeshift. But apparently, alicorns are the black sheep of the fandom.
And it's just like a lot of people just assume it's like, oh, the weaknesses of changelings are simple. They're hive minds. Like maybe some people theorize
if they have a hive mind.
Well, that was kind of disproven with like season 6.
Exactly.
Yeah, this is what I'm really saying. It's like changelings can really be self-independent, like the strongest warriors you could have. And it's like if you sort of brought them into the mix of like Fallout Equestria, which they only written it from like say like an early season 2 writing standpoint without any changelings. My God, the amount of espionage.
One of my favorite arcs in the comics is the origin arc for the changelings, where it was sort of like we were just made, but they did like this entire sequence of like there was this great fortress in the clouds and it was holding our forces back, so we infiltrated it and then we just took it down in a day, like when we got in, and that blew my mind. Like the writers of the comics think changelings are strong enough to take down an entire empire in a day. That is fucking nuts.
The Storm King wishes he got those stats.
Like, okay, like the Storm King, I'm not going to put the Storm King shit on this list because we don't know shit about him and what he's actually capable of.
Yeah, we definitely shouldn't be able to talk to him.
But, like, it's... The Alicorn argument, as I like to call it, when it comes to this fandom, is so one-sided because we've only got, like, 5 Alicorns, and Flurry Heart didn't help the Alicorn argument, I'll admit that. But we've only got, like, 5 Alicorns, so they're obviously really rare. Are they?
Mm-hmm.
Are they that rare? Because according to Celestia and Luna, they've never seen an Alicorn birth, but we don't know Celestia and Luna's past. For all we know, they could have been raised by Pegasi and unicorns.
Yeah. Like, what if, like, the Alicorns all live in, like, basically a Valhalla type of thing that's so far and away from Equestria that they're literally, like what we considered gods initially, or just simply just children?
Now, okay, I will admit this. We're about 20 minutes in. I will admit this now. If there is an episode that comes out that establishes that Alicorns are really OP gods, I will shut my mouth about this entire argument. But the fandom itself didn't help with the Alicorn argument. It didn't. And there are 2 people that I like these people. I think they're cool. But there are 2 people in the fandom that really didn't help this argument. One of them is Ink Rose, and the other is Lightning Bliss.
Ooh, yeah.
And then the third is Flutter Rose, but I don't want to talk about her.
Okay.
Her audio series is really weird. Anyway. Okay, Ink Rose... Obviously, the biggest video made in the fandom, I'm going to argue that, is a Celestia and Luna backstory thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which, okay, saying Lightning Bliss's name in the chat has apparently sparked something from Matt too. So that's interesting. Basically, that entire backstory of explaining that the Alicorns were like, there were Alicorns that controlled the nature, and there were Alicorns that controlled the water, and Alicorns controlled the world. And then they had to fight the Draconici in this epic, overpowered, super-duper, omega power war thing. And then Celestia and Luna were the only ones left, so they had to, like, and they're the last of their kind, and all that shit. That's a really great story. Don't get me wrong. I like it, but it doesn't help the Alicorn argument at all. Because it's entirely based off that Celestia and Luna are OP as fuck. Luna, I will not argue that Luna isn't OP, because she was pretty devastating. the flashbacks of her turning into Nightmare Moon proved like she could bitch slap Celestia. She could just bitch slap her down.
Yeah, even though I don't really like those flashbacks at all, just because of how visually uninteresting they were compared to what the fandom has done.
I mean, honestly, yeah, but the show's aimed for little girls. It's not going to go full on dark.
No. It's not even that. Like, that's like, I'm not even advocating for dark. I'm just advocating for actually purposeful scenes, not just random flashbacks to like Celestia and Luna for no apparent reason during the season 4 premiere. I'm sorry. I couldn't contain my anger over that episode because it just hurts that much for me.
I mean, like, because the only two that I will allow arguments against my argument that Alicorns aren't as OP as people make them out to be are Flurry Heart and Luna, because they are really OP. Cadence, I won't let argue, because Cadence has had barely any power feats. She's shown mastery of one specific spell that's connected to her Cutie Mark talent, which in itself is its own magic, and we're not even going to talk about that.
Yeah.
And honestly, Luna's just shown so much OP shit. Luna is like the most OP Alicorn in the show. She can bring inanimate objects to life. She can walk through your dreams. She can transform into a super like Nightmare Moon form and bitch slap Celestia down.
And she can make a world-ending nightmare monster.
Yeah, pretty much. So she's like her feats. I won't argue because she's really OP. Celestia isn't OP as much as Josh Scorcher would want. And I like Josh Scorcher, but as much as Josh Scorcher would want this to happen, as much as like anyone would want it to happen who wants a Celestia episode, she's not OP, guys. She's barely shown any power scaling, and that's the show's fault. But the strongest Alicorn we've seen is Luna and Flurry Heart, because Flurry Heart screamed and shattered the Crystal Heart. Something
let's see.
that Sombra couldn't do. And he controlled the entire empire and had to have both Alicorns fight him off.
And let's not forget about maybe like some dream physics about Daybreaker. Like she might be more powerful than Celestia.
Okay, yeah, but Daybreaker was a fictitious sphere made by Starlight that constantly fed off Starlight's fear, so you can't really argue a Nightmare. I haven't seen Sailor Moon Matt 2, so I don't get that joke.
His rivals those of Sailor Moon. Okay.
I mean, okay, so Incro's basically personified everything that obviously the fandom kind of wanted to hear about Celestia and Luna. Their tragic backstory, they're really powerful. They had this grand spanking SmackDown thing. And, like, honestly, I kind of laughed a bit when the show completely made it not true, from the fact that they had flashbacks to the Luna fight, and Luna beat Celestia, so she had to use the elements to banish her, and then, like, you think they would have this epic OP fight with Discord. Nah, they just walked up and used the elements on him.
Just like the season 2 premiere.
That made me laugh. Looking at that episode again made me laugh, because I was like, oh yeah, they didn't actually super duper fight this guy. They just blasted him with the rainbow.
Yeah.
There is no super power feat for Celestia. And honestly, like, there's been more power feats for dragons, more power feats for hippogriffs, more power feats for unicorns, and more power feats from just expanding previously established ideas in the show alone, from Pegasi, that trump Celestia. And even as far as we've seen, trump Luna. And yes, you can argue I'm fan speculating a different race against fan speculation, but it's not fan speculation when you've seen this stuff in show. And as far as the show has gone, they could possibly do it. Because we've had lightning bolts on this planet that have been super really powerful. And if Pegasi could control the weather, they could create snowstorms, they can create droughts, they can create droughts, because we've seen that when Rarity had the weather under control. She made the sun apparently so hot it burnt almost everyone in Ponyville. Which means Celestia can raise the sun, but apparently doesn't have control over its temperature.
That is something missing for like the OP factor, because if you're not able to affect the temperature, all you really have is the sun from part 3 of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders. And I think no one wants to have that sort of stand for their ability. Oh my god.
Honestly, okay, I'm going to go into Lightning Bliss now, and Lightning Bliss is a part of a massive apparent problem that I have fed into as well. And that is Alicorn OCs don't help the Alicorn argument either. When a person makes an Alicorn OC, they're like, okay, it has to be super overpowered and stuff like that. And there are people who don't do that, but the majority of people that have is a bit unreal. And Lightning Bliss is a massive example of this. I'm a massive example of this, but I do it to piss people off. So it's sort of a bit... I do it deliberately. And what kind of makes me laugh is people look at Lightning Bliss's OC. Oh, yeah, that is a good point, Matt, too. Holy shit. Like, the sun is really hot and they needed clouds to block it. So Pegasi could essentially, like, just take the world hostage. Like, we're not going to give you clouds until you treat us, like, as complete first-rate citizens.
Vulcan, that's kind of like that idea was already done by Fallout, and it's like, yeah, they actually did do that.
Oh my god!
Yeah, like literally, the Pegasi holding the sun hostage in Fallout's case. That was the thing. It's like, we're not giving you guys any sunlight. You're just gonna be like full cloud cover. Feel depression of being trapped in the power outside. Like, that's what happened.
Spoilers for people who haven't seen Fallout Equestria, dude.
Well, it's been like 5 years since that thing.
I haven't read it.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
but people in the chat who haven't read it and probably haven't realized it's a thing because it kind of died out.
It died out?
Yeah, it's like hype died out, man.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, with like after season 4, it's like a lot of fandom hype was just gone.
Yeah, because season 5 started out great and then became absolute trash. Anyway, before I piss more people off, this episode's probably pissed a lot of people off already. When a person does, me included, when a person designs an Alicorn OC, they've pretty much taken everything they've heard about the fandom into account, and they're like. And they're just sort of like, okay, my Alicorn obviously has to be really powerful, but I've got to make sure I rein him in. I've got to make sure that he's not OP as shit, and then they end up making him OP as shit. And for this example, I'm going to drive my OC, and I'm not going to parade my OC's super overpowered. And, oh, yeah, but he's not. No, I'm going to say this right now. My OC can't use magic in any way, shape, or form except through his Pegasi wings, which he can barely fly, and his Earth Pony strength, because his mother was an Earth Pony, his dad was an Alicorn. Meaning he doesn't know how to use his horn and really can't use his horn, and it's just kind of there.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing he can do is control magma, and even then, he's got to make it come out through the mantle and through the crust, which itself is pretty damn difficult.
So basically, your character is only a manipulator of the element if you're able to get close enough to it, or if you get enough charge up time in order to bring it out from like somewhere far away from the mantle.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
If you pour a bucket of water over him, it'll sting him like mad. So yeah, but the idea is that I made him really powerful. I made him. I've given him control of the most destructive element on the entire planet, besides antimatter. But I'm not kidding. There's probably an antimatter Alicorn out there. Someone's probably made an Alicorn of antimatter, and if they have, I'm just gonna facepalm because they're part of the problem. I'm part of the problem, but again, I'm just here to piss people off. Which I guess you could use as an argument to derail this entire video, but go for it, because I don't give a shit. Lightning Bliss. Oh, okay, Lightning Bliss is OC. Where do I even begin with how OP this OC is? You know what? No, I've talked a lot. Where do you want to start with how OP this OC is?
Well, I mean, for me, let's see. I guess maybe the fact that she is, she has like a very strong levitation capacity, as per like the videos that she edited for like the TF2 project that she's featured in. It's like that's like the reasoning behind her being the heavy for that series.
I mean, like, oh my god, her levitation ability is a bit nuts in that series because she lifts a minigun while flying, while constantly moving. Because this takes concentration to physically levitate, use telekinesis. It does take concentration in all kinds of fiction, and she's just doing this with ease. I mean, granted, you could say the more she's done it, the easier it's gotten, and I'll give you that. But the amount of weight she just levitates, with that being a minigun, combined with the ammo, combined with obviously having to keep her concentration completely focused on lifting that gun during a firefight, is really okay. That's a bit like, oh wow. As far as I'm aware, we haven't had an episode where she's lost the ability to use her levitation.
I guess like they wouldn't consider like that because like that's the only way for like ponies to do things. So she keeps on having like a bit of like that leg up to like show like I'm just constantly this just so I'd be able to like play the game like you're supposed to in TF2.
Now I'm not gonna bring it up now, but there's like a feat she does in all of her videos that just makes me go, what the shit, when it comes to Lightning Bliss. The next one is her magic lesson stuff. Oh my god. Okay, so a lot of people have told me that Lightning Bliss's OC is apparently really well balanced. Absolute bollocks. Her fucking magic lessons have shown her to get the ability to possess bodies, shown her to have the ability, well, if you take the Aeon of Dreams one, but I don't know Aeon of Dreams' feat, so I'm not really going to use that as a complete thing.
I mean, Aeon of Dreams is basically what you think about like a Faustian bargain demon. Like,
okay.
Like sort of that with enhanced knowledge of like all things occult and such. So that's what we're dealing with for that.
Okay, so I'll let the possessing ability slide. She has the ability to create rainbows, shoot rainbow beams, teleport, fly, super, like as far as we've seen, physical strength.
There's also like I don't know if this counts for physical strength or something else, but in some videos, even if it's an artistic flavor, being able to suck the color out of her room or out of things.
Oh shit, yeah. She has full control over all of color.
Yeah. Can you imagine with certain enemies? Like
the fuck?
Like certain animals get triggered by certain colors, like I believe.
Well, like, I mean, honestly, the entire absence of color itself isn't a big thing, I will admit, but it can be a very powerful thing if you can willingly control it. Because obviously, the idea of her character is she's a naive child learning to control her power, but this child has a lot of abilities, a lot of power.
That your description kind of makes her sound like Flurry Heart.
Yeah. Who she complained, I think she complained about? I'm not sure, I'll have to double check. But she also has a rainbow demon beast thing under her control.
Yeah,
which is Twink.
Twink.
What else does she do? She's done a lot of shit. Like, she's shown to be not master, but the capability of doing a massive array of unicorn feats.
Mm-hmm.
Which Again, because of the idea that I like to call Unicorn Master Race.
It's like unicorns with like a variety of spells and such. It's like kind of like very rare in the MLP case, and the fact that we focus on those rare cases just kind of like influences the fandom negatively. Like
the only really OP ones that we've seen are obviously all the Twilight clones, but that is a good question. What is Lightning Bliss's talent? I'm going to get up a wiki page. I'm actually going to give me a sec, guys. I'm just going to load up a wiki page.
Like I just like this is a bit of like an aside, but this is kind of like the reason why for like my original Unicorn OC, I only really had his best skill essentially be one spell that Starlight ever did in season 6, and that would be her acceleration spell. That is all. And maybe even like a giant sword similar to like Keldio's like a sacred sword, but that's really it. Just 2 spells. I wanted to limit my unicorn as possible and have him be more like an earth pony. This is kind of like why I didn't. This is kind of like why I might be changing like my OC really away from unicorn stuff, because magic isn't my thing, and I kind of don't like how many unicorns just take it for a spin for the master race card. You know, it's just kind of make me feel like disinterested about it, because I just thought unicorns were just going to be the studious types of the races. You know, not the jocks, just the guys who think they're mentally the elites. Though Earth Ponies also showcase that in either Ponyville or Canterlot. But still, or Manhattan, more Manhattan. Why should I say Canterlot? Canterlot's unicorns elites anyways. But yeah, it's like that sort of like reasoning as to like why I feel like in some cases for Alicorns, I really don't like the overplayed factors. But this mostly goes for like the unicorn state of the argument. Just.
Oh shit! Yeah, I forgot about that.
What is it?
She doesn't just have magic; she also has rainbow magic. Now, I want to stress this: I don't hate Lightning Bliss. I just don't like how people argue her OC is really a well-done Alicorn OC when she's got teleportation and then rainbow magic that can just take her to wherever a plot demands it to. Because remember, she can ride rainbows. So she doesn't even need to fly.
It's like teleportation. It's like cheap gimmick that unicorns always have. Like, I mean, even like saying Twilight, for example, it's like, this is why I very much restricted my unicorn to be like, you're not going to be able to teleport. All you have is speed. Like, I hate teleporting because that's what villains do. That's what villains always need for them to continue on another day.
Dude, I just read this line in a wiki group, in a wiki thing, and I'm just seeing some fire being thrown at Alicorns. It's not usual she'll be walking along the Rift Cafe hallway to find talented unicorns or Alicorns, in brackets, if they're... to help her to help her control her magic. So, like, even this wiki is throwing some shade on Alicorn OCs. Like, even if there are Alicorn OCs in the Rift. Secret Rift Cafe, calling it her. New horror miracles, something else. Okay, so she's in the secret. Okay. Oh my god, okay. Alright. Like, honestly, we're going to get into the strongest feat she's done in all her videos.
What is it?
She was apparently casting a spell to reverse her Alicorn nature to being back into being a Pegasus. So FYI, she was a Pegasus before she became an Alicorn. And on top of being that, she's got all this magic OP bullshit. And when she tries to cast this spell and it reverses back on her, she then rips her personality in two, creating a physical existence out of the second personality. There's a difference between like creating an ethereal personality. There's like creating your physical existence and then splitting it into two. That's nuts. That's really OP. And then she does it to I don't really want to bring this guy up, but it's still a feat. She does it to Toon Critic. What? What is it with this OC? And why do people say it's balanced? Jesus Christ.
It's just,
I mean, honestly, Lightning Bliss is part of the problem of OP Alicorn OCs. I'm part of the problem, but I admit it. I mean, honestly, if you want to make an OP Alicorn OC, go for it. I'm not going to judge you. But I don't like the argument that Alicorns are the only OP race in the show. Because we've pretty much proven they're not.
The moniker is Friendship is Magic, and Gen 4 has really been about a lot of powerful races. If they have any touchings with magic, that's where they get the OP-ness factor from.
Well, yeah, but everything in the show has magic.
Some could argue Earth Pony's got the short end of the stick constantly.
Do I need to bring up Applejack? The background pony?
The strength feats, yeah. Yeah, but people say, like, strength is fine. But it's like, people who are able to affect things outside of, like, their body, is like, that's where real OP-ness is. It's like...
Okay, yeah, that stuff is great. All that magic stuff is great. But if you have the ability to train your body to literally shatter a building with a punch, I don't really know how an energy shield's gonna protect you when you could pretty much crack it with a punch.
Wait a minute, you're kind of describing One Punch Man. You're kind of describing that Saitama.
Well, we don't know if they can't get as strong as Saitama.
I mean,
we don't know the limits of Earth Pony physical abilities.
I mean, like, the most strongest feat we possibly saw was during, like, Season 4, Episode 19 with Maud Pie's introduction.
Well, Maud Pie's was more like speed.
Well,
that was more of a speed feat, man. If you hit something repeatedly with the same amount of speed, it can and it will ultimately like start massively chipping away at it. But,
so that's why you didn't bring up Maud. You kind of attributed her more to Pinkie Pie's type of Earth Pony, the speed variant.
Oh, shit, yeah, Pinkie Pie too. Her speed is nuts. And before people say she's Pinkie Pie, don't question it. She's an Earth Pony, and she's faster than Rainbow Dash.
Well, on land, easily.
Okay. Pre Sonic Boom, Rainbow Dash.
Pre Sonic Boom, yeah.
Pre-Sonic Boom, Rainbow Dash. Rainbow Dash can obviously break the sound barrier, but we don't know if it's a sound barrier or a magic barrier. We don't know.
No,
she can break the rainbow barrier. She can break the rainbow barrier.
The rainbow barrier, as if there was like a cosmic network of rainbow, and then she was able to access the rainbow zone and became Zap.
Yeah, Zap.
Oh my god.
The power ponies are also really good ideas of how OP they can be. But anyway, like Maud and Pinkie are more like speed feats in terms of Earth Pony ability. Applejack and Applejack, I think it's Applejack.
Big Mac.
Applejack, Big Mac. Well,
Troubleshoes?
Does Troubleshoes have a strength feat? Did he actually do something like really, really strong?
Oh no, he just only did like smashing barrels, like because of the klutz he is.
I mean, Applejack is just a pony that works on a farm daily. That technically means Apple Bloom could be as physically strong as Applejack.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
Maybe that could be natural.
that also means Granny Smith could have been as physically strong as Applejack. That means any Earth pony who goes and works on a farm and does farm work for like a long period of time to build up their physical body could be as strong as Applejack, or even stronger. Like, we could get some DBZ level strength. Well, no, not DBZ. Like, End of Dragon Ball level strength.
Yes!
With these Earth ponies, man. Earth ponies are the underdogs of MLP.
And I think the fact that an Alicorn OC is the one saying it, it's kind of like, people, stop underplaying the Earth ponies. They don't have something that's like written in the show, but Applejack in the recent season finale, she is strong. Strong is something important. It's not just the powers you can have for your OCs that should be like all you should care about and why you don't want to be an Earth pony. Like, in fact, if I was to redesign my OC, if I was going with a pony, I would have actually chosen Earth pony. I feel more comfortable as one.
For anyone who makes the argument to me that you're an Alicorn, you can't talk smack about who's the strongest race. FYI, the biological stats of percentages of my Alicorn is 5% unicorn. It's 5% unicorn, 25% Pegasi, and 70% Earth Pony. Meaning the majority of Vulcan's power relies in his Earth Pony traits. And also, my Pony Sona is an Earth Pony. I think these dudes can be really strong.
Okay, and even if like percentages don't account for like your guys' rebuttal to Vulcan, saying like percentages don't matter. The fact that Vulcan designed an Alicorn OC to be overpowered and it having nothing to do really with magic, just only manipulating like the resources available that anyone could focus, like say Earthbenders essentially is what Vulcan's ultimate power really is. Manipulating lava and such. It's just like, never underestimate the Earth. Really. The Earth gave birth to you. The Earth can end you.
Yeah. I'm not even going to argue that. Yeah, the Earth can fucking end you.
Except
but there's only like 4 people watching this, and one of them is me, because I'm monitoring the chat.
I'm also monitoring the chat too.
That means only 2 people are watching this. Meaning that we're going to have to step up our game. We need to beat the 7 people that watched it last time.
Heck yeah, man. Heck yeah.
But we're reaching the 60-minute mark, so I'm going to extend this topic to the people in the chat.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think is the strongest race in MLP? What do you think? Okay, I'm going to rephrase that. But barring Alicorns, what do you think is the other strongest race in MLP? And we will listen to your answers and tally them up.
Well, it looks like Matthew made a response not to that question, but saying like, "Oh, Earthbenders can probably manipulate lava just because it's molten rock."
Earthbenders from Avatar.
Yeah.
Yeah, they could. They could, because it's literally, it's not even like liquid. It's still a solid. It's just. It's because obviously it's so hot and it's vibrating so much. It's just having trouble manipulating its own physical structure.
Oh my god! I just realized something. Earthbenders probably have more variety than even firebenders or waterbenders.
Yeah, firebenders have no variety. They have barely any variety in Avatar because they've got fire. They've got, I think, blue fire.
Well, no, lightning. Lightning.
And well, yeah, but lightning's like the ultimate level.
Okay.
Because they made it a massive thing that you really have to be careful in teaching lightning bending, because it can be like really, it can backfire on you. I mean, the strongest firebender we got was the Fire Lord. And all he did was like superheat everything. No, I don't think earthbenders could move the sun.
Seriously.
The sun has no physical rock elements to it. It's just a giant exploding ball of nuclear energy.
Yeah, I think that would be like something more of akin to like say like firebenders might be able to profit more from the sun if they got close to it. But that's it.
Probably like all of the firebenders in the world combined probably with the Avatar in the Avatar state. I would say they would then be able to move the sun. In the Avatar world, that doesn't mean that Celestia is the equivalent of every single fucking Avatar in the Avatar world. We're not power scaling this shit. The sun and moon in MLP are something we know fuck all about, honestly.
Yeah,
we know fuck all about them. We don't know if they're really powerful. If it's a giant nuclear explosion, it could literally just be a giant light in the sky.
If it is, then it's just like, it's just only the nightlight that Celestia brings out from the night to shine on with brilliance.
Exactly. Like, we don't know if they're bound to Celestia and Luna. We don't know if they're just manipulating them. Like, when people bring up, like, oh, but Alicorns are really powerful because Celestia and Luna can move the sun and moon. I'm like, okay. But can they move our sun and moon? And then, like, they're like, yeah, no, they can't. Because they're completely different. How do you know? How do you know they're not?
How do you know if they are? Because right now, you're just assuming. We're just assuming the opposite. There's no concrete proof. That is the answer.
There's a lot of headcanons in this show because we compare it to our current lifestyle, and that sort of leads into the issue of quote-unquote power scaling in MLP. And honestly, I like power scaling characters in MLP. I might do this as a series, but honestly, because of like there's headcanons everywhere in this fandom, it gets absolutely nuts when you think about how much shit.
You lose all the facts within all the fiction that we propagate here. And Matthew has another question. It's like, the Everfree Forest doesn't use the same sun and moon, does it? And it's like, it does. It just has its own system of acting natural in an unnatural world. Like, the sun and moon are still being affected by Celestia and Luna.
Well, actually, he brings up a really interesting argument.
Really?
Everfree Forest does everything by itself. Does that technically mean that everything in the MLP world does everything by itself? And then you've just got the pony so used to manipulating and controlling it, they don't really realize that it can control itself. Or is it the fact that the Everfree is just such a weird place? Because again, thanks to the show's not too excellent folks world building, we don't know. All we know from the show about the Everfree Forest is the Plunder Vines, the tentacle hentai of the show, and
the Plunder Vines, which was just a construct of chaos from Discord.
Yep, and the Tree of Harmony.
The Tree of Harmony, which was a construct of Star Swirl and the Pillars.
Yep. There's nothing else seriously special about it.
It's just... Maybe it's just where they put all the unlikable creatures that they can't tame, like monsters and such, like what they would call them. Because if that's the case,
but we've only got 2 seasons left of world building.
2 more.
They're just gonna cram it all in these 2 seasons, I bet you.
Just being like, oh, the Everfree Forest is like the final boss area. It's like
I'm not actually gonna make that bet because that would be stupid because they won't actually do it.
Yeah.
That's the sad truth about MLP. Everything you kind of want in the show won't happen until it's like a vocal thing done by the big heads of the Brody community. I mean, honestly, like, when I said I was making Alicorn OC, like, when I was talking originally with Dr. Wolf, and I think it was like, Eliora, people, like, don't, because, like, you'll get hated, and I'm like, I'm doing it. Make people hate me because then they'll remember me.
Hate is a lot more easier and prevalent than it is to get actual adoration from humanity.
Exactly.
That is actually very powerful. You said there.
Anyway, wrapping this up, I don't hate OP Alicorn OCs. I hate the argument that every Alicorn is OP because they're an Alicorn. That's what I disagree with. And honestly, if you look at the show, every pony race is overpowered. So technically, the majority of the Brony fandom that has a pony OC technically has an overpowered OC. Every person that has a changeling OC that's a black changeling, cough, cough, Anthony C. No, not Anthony C. AMY. He is a changeling, right?
Half changeling.
Yeah, so he's half OP.
Half OP.
Hashtag firing all the shots. I'm just doing it. Everyone's OC. I mean, technically, who else could be really OP? I'm just gonna list all the characters that could be really OP. Josh Scorcher is really OP because he ends every episode self-destructing and blowing up a chunk of the planet. But apparently, Alicorns are OP, guys.
Oh, that's just very much an underdog. It's still, it's like people like OP is based on your perspective.
Exactly.
It might be a very biased perspective to think your character is an OP based on other people's characters, but that still doesn't mean that your character is an OP in one way or another. Like, I might be willing to admit, like, for my character, the only thing that might be OP about him is him being able to have the chance, like, even by himself, to talk to multiple sides of his personality and or possibly fighting against them or possibly resolving issues about him in order for self-discovery and self-healing.
Dude, but everything can be OP because look at Dragon Ball. Like, honestly, Android 17, currently in Dragon Ball, was able to push back the strongest character in the series. Goku goes all the way up to, like, Ultra Instinct, which instantly lets him defend himself against any attack. Mm-hmm. But then you have Krillin, who has the Ki Enzon, that can, in the words of the author himself, cut through anything. Even people stronger than him.
And literally, some villains even decide to use that technique, a.k.a. Vegeta when he was a villain. Frieza, which ended up being his downfall on Namek.
Disc! The fuck? I love that bit. Like, honestly, everything in every story can be OP if you push it to an extent. Just because that extent is easier for Alicorns, that's the reasons why people jump on. Alicorns are just the most OP OCs in the fandom.
Like, people just want to jump on the train. Yeah.
It's literally all just jumping on opinion trains established by figureheads in the Brony fandom, and I've talked about that before. But cough, cough, Frankie's Pride, cough, cough, Dr. Wolf. And honestly, like, if you take anything from this, because this has just been me rambling about Alicorns and OCs for an hour, so I'm sorry about that. If you want to take anything from this, if you want to make an Alicorn OC, go for it, because there's a monotony of arguments you can actually make against people for OP OCs. Mm-hmm. And if you just want to make an OC that's OP, but you don't want to be an Alicorn, just look at the show, man.
Hey, Vulcan?
Mm-hmm.
There's one thing that we didn't even get to talk about in this entire Alicorn podcast thing. And it's something I can actually put in a word in edgewise in my experience with Alicorns.
Okay, what is that?
Backstories. Okay, I might not have a problem with your character being an Alicorn, but I might have a problem if you try to make unrealistic expectations for your character, trying to make a story out of a molehill, and just simply think you could possibly make this work when the idea you're proposing is something with like limited thought, if any thought at all. Because
what are you talking about? I made Jerry the best Alicorn ever, loved by everyone, wife of Celestia and brother of Luna, and ultimately is now fucking Twilight, and they have 10 kids who rule the world. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with Jerry? got a problem with Jerry? You got a problem with originality?
Well,
God.
the point about Jerry is that nobody likes Jerry.
Hashtag Jerry best. Hashtag Jerry best princess.
Jerry best.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'll stop. I'll shut up. I'll let you talk.
All right. Because I try to bring people back from the fiction that seems to like succeed of like the fiction that can be easily be targeted by people that are known to be very negative, criticizing them by saying them your idea is just too obviously OP or like too obviously everything's hunky-dory, even if you try to make your character edgy with like a dark backstory, like I have to run away from like these, like my Alicorn was like a recluse from like an Alicorn clan that was basically fighting off against another one, which ended up both of them killing themselves off and stuff like that. It's like stuff like that really peeves me off, and I was like, I'm trying to help you people by getting you down, situated, but when they don't listen, it's like you're gonna get targeted by people like really horrible in the community, and you're just gonna be like, you're gonna have to take the abuse if you're willing to go for those sorts of stunts. And don't just like bring up an Alicorn OC as something as like a thing of you for entry of a certain group, because that is not going to fly. You can't just do that. Oh. I'm sorry, I might be venting over some work, but it's just sometimes there are some people in the community that they just don't know any better. And I just want to educate them as a precaution. Make sure you go through it with your friends, your idea for an Alicorn. Try to make it relatable to your personality or something that you want to fantasize yourself. But make sure if you want to be taken seriously, make sure it fits consciously with the canon that the show has presented to you about Alicorns. Or if you want to do an alternate take of a question, make sure it fits in the context of like that continuity that you want to make, even if you go full-blown Dragon Ball writing. So yeah, that's really all I want to say about Alicorns for my segment.
This has been the closing speech of Gunmetal Gladius, the closing statement of the new President of the United States. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. Hope to enjoy your votes, and thank you for an amazing political speech. Thank you. Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause for our new president. Sorry. I love how you clap yourself. Like, round of applause. Yes. Clap me, people. And there's just silence. And you're just like, I'll stop.
And I think Matu says here, lastly, at the end of this, is quite poignant. Telling people what they want to hear is an easy way to get people to listen.
Oh, yeah. And then telling people that what they hear and what they think is wrong is also a good way to make them remember you because they hate your guts.
Yeah. And it's
welcome to the Vulcan channel where I piss everybody off and I love every second of it.
Doesn't matter. It's like the ego. Even if you don't think yourself having ego, there is something to wound that pride. Just look at our fellow Saiyan Prince Vegeta.
Kakarot, I'm the Prince of all Saiyans, Vegeta!
Yes.
Right, okay. Yeah. This is literally us just rambling now. Thank you, everybody, for watching the VGP episode 3. Mm-hmm. Episode 4 will be coming at you next week, and we will be talking about the wonderful topic of tokusatsu.
Yes! But of which ones? Because there's a variety of topics now with the current premiere of Lupin Ranger versus Paddle Ranger.
We'll probably just talk about the current status of Toku. Probably talk about build, and we'll probably talk about Lupin Ranger versus Paddle Ranger, and the ending of my favorite Sentai season to date.
Q Ranger, aka the series that shouldn't be ruined at all by Nickelodeon, though probably will.
They're probably gonna do Zyuohger because Zyuohger is just easier for Saban.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like six actors of the main cast compared to the 12 of Q Ranger.
Even bigger than Dino Charge. That's the scary part. And it's like we had guest roles for Dino Charge. So imagine adding 2 more to that pile. Imagine
Mystic Force, we had like 9 Rangers at the end, and about 2 of them didn't get their powers back till the end of the season.
Zord Builder. Zord Builder.
Right, but with that note, we will see you guys next week. Thank you for tuning in. This has been Vulcan.
This has been Gladius, or Gunmetal if you prefer. Ciao, and the curtain falls on this display.
Good night.